Good morning and welcome to the first ever live from Hesston Gleaner Harvest Clinic. It's great to have you all here with us today, and we have an information-packed agenda for you. My name is Kevin Forth, and I am the Tactical Marketing Manager for Combines here at AGCO, and I will be your MC for the day. I'd like to go ahead and get things started off this morning with a message from Bob Crane, our Senior Vice President and General Manager of North America.
Hello and welcome. I'm Bob Crane, Senior Vice President and General Manager for AGCO North America. I'd like to welcome you to our Gleaner live from Hesston Virtual Event. We're thrilled to have you with us here today. From its start, its inception in Nickerson, Kansas, way back in 1923, to its first rotary style combine, the N6 series in 1979 through today with our Gleaner S9 series. Gleaner has a rich history of providing customers with a harvesting platform that delivers a superior, a best-in-class return on investment. For instance, Gleaner is it's the lightest weight combine in the industry, on average more than 11,000 pounds, 11,000 pounds lighter than like-sized competitive models. And with a standard 390 bushel grain tank and more than 6,000 square inches of threshing and separating area, it also offers incredibly high capacity and performance. Today, our Gleaner dealer network, it's bigger and better than ever. Operating out of 226 locations and with industry-leading parts availability, we offer tremendous support for your Gleaner purchase. For those of you that currently own or run Gleaner combines, I want to thank you. Thank you for your business. It means a great deal to me, it means a great deal to all of us at AGCO, and we look forward to continuing to work with you for years to come. For those of you that are new to Gleaner, or you're considering Gleaner for your farm, we encourage you to give Gleaner a try. Give us a demo. We would love the opportunity to bring a Gleaner out to your farm and show you what this combine can do. And whether it's corn, soybeans, wheat, canola, or even hemp, we're confident you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the results. If you're unsure of who your local Gleaner dealer is, or you'd like to inquire more about Gleaner, including setting up an on-farm demonstration, you can always visit our website at www.gleanercombines.com. Whether you're just wrapped up your wheat harvest or you're starting to get your combine ready for fall harvest, we wish you all the best, and we look forward to getting you in a Gleaner. Enjoy our show.
Thanks, Bob. As you can see, all of us here at AGCO are glad to have you here, and we are looking forward to a great day of information about the Gleaner Combine. Okay, now we'd like to get started with our program, and leading us off is the Strategic Marketing Manager for Gleaner, Robert Ross. Robert has been with AGCO for several years, and he has extensive knowledge of the Gleaner product. He is going to take us through some updates and performance data regarding the Gleaner. Robert.
Thank you, Kevin. I want to tell all of you that have joined in today what a privilege this is to be here and to have the opportunity to talk about the Gleaner Combine, which happens to be one of my favorite subjects. So when we look back over the years, we have been involved with the rotary concept for a long time, before our natural flow concept came to life 40 plus years ago. Since that time, we have seen a lot of changes. And while the concept is the same, the combine has seen a lot of changes, from the N6 to the R60 series to the R7. And then the 2 series combine came along, and that's when things really started changing. That led us to the S series. And over the past 10 years, we have continued to make improvements to the combines as crops change and conditions change, and the need to get more done in a day increases. Ladies and gentlemen, today's Gleaner is the best machine we have ever built, from the performance to the reliability and the comfort. These truly are the best Gleaner combines ever. Make no mistake, this isn't Grandpa's Gleaner anymore. Things have changed, and today we want to talk about some of those changes and improvements we have made over time and show you what the Gleaner S9 combine is made of. So let's talk about some of the improvements we have made to the heart and soul of the Gleaner combine. In 2010, we introduced the Super Series with a larger processor featuring a larger cage, larger rotor, and below that was larger accelerator rolls and bigger cleaning fan. All this was to increase capacity. If you think about it, the whole reason for rotary technology was to gain capacity and to do it with fewer moving parts and to be more efficient. We will talk more about that in a few minutes. In 2015, we added the perforated cascade pan to the cleaning shoe to increase our shoe capacity in high-yielding crops. As yields improve and varieties change, we have to make changes to keep the machine performing to meet customer expectations. In 2017, we added rotor flights to improve the flow of material through the processor. The key to the overall performance in the combine is to keep the crop flowing from the time it enters the machine until it leaves the discharge area. The crop flow is important so all aspects of the machine can do their job, from thrashing to separating and cleaning. The flights help the material move smoothly and evenly through the processor, especially in green stem soybeans. These are just a few items we have made improvements to over the years, to the heart and the soul of a Gleaner combine, which is the processor and the cleaning system. Todd will get into more details later in the program on what makes this so unique. So let's talk about some of the new changes that go through model year 2021. These are running changes that will take place on the combine throughout production. So some of the software updates that we'll see is an update to the control handle to give it a better feel and control for the operator. The transmission shifting updates to make it shift better on uneven terrain or while you're in the hills. New calibration procedure for FieldStar to make it simpler and easier to calibrate. A yield spike correction so that we get good quality data coming into the combine. Improvements to the crop settings for the combine and ag leader if it's equipped to do a simpler, easier way to get the settings in there. On the combine itself, we've gone to a new chopper knife. The chopper knife is going to have more actual material to the knife to make it last longer. We've incorporated heat shields onto the engines to keep all those hot spots on the engines protected from getting chaff or dust in those areas. Main drive belt tensioning procedure. That's all done here at the factory so we get a better tension on that belt for longer reliability. The unloading auger U-joint procedure and how we're manufacturing that and the process we do to get extended life out of that for more reliability. The unloading auger belt drive support bracket on the right-hand side and sprockets have been changed for improved reliability and to keep that belt running true. Heavy-duty left-hand rotor bearing casting on the rotor itself for improved reliability. The feeder house pivot seal has been improved, where it pivots to do a better job of sealing and to last longer. We've also on the impeller have added a anti-wrap improvement to that so material can't build up on the side of the impeller. Also improved the grounding on the main harnesses to improve the overall performance of the electronic system on the combine. These are the running changes and the latest updates to the Gleaner combine. So earlier we talked about capacity of rotary combines, and we talked about all the changes that have come to the Gleaner combine over the years. So where does that lead us? What does today's Gleaner deliver? So we went out and we've done a little bit of research and we've done some benchmarking, and I pulled together a few items here that I really wanted to share with you today. We have a couple of S97s out on the harvest run, and they averaged these two about 543 hours apiece. The fuel usage on these, 7,584.5 gallons. Total acres averaged 8,800 plus acres harvested. And then we look at the gallons per acre, 0.86 gallons per acre over the entire 543 hours, the 8,800 plus acres harvested. That's 13.95 gallons on the average per hour. That is efficiency. That's a machine out there performing and doing it with a low cost of fuel consumption. So then we went out and we did a harvest study in the cornfield. 218 bushel corn, 14.6 moisture. We averaged 4,189 bushels per hour, 0.85% loss. Fuel consumption in the corn was 16.5 gallons per hour, 0.65 on the FM. So clean bin samples, good performance, and doing it with good fuel efficiency. These are actual machines in the field running. So when we talk about the improvements that we've done, and we talk about rotary technology and the natural flow system, it all adds up to a machine that goes out and performs and does it very efficiently at the same time. Okay, so as we talk about what today's Gleaner delivers, and we went through the fuel consumption, we've gone through the capacity, we've looked at all the improvements that have taken place, and we truly have done a lot of work to this machine. And we're very proud of our Gleaner Combine. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and learning more about our Gleaner Combine. We appreciate all the business that you do and all the combines that you run with us. And with that, I would like to say thank you and have a great day.
Great, thanks Robert. I think we all learned that the Gleaner is packed with performance. Okay, next we're going to switch to Mark Broomgart, Marketing Manager at AGCO, and he is going to take us through some updates on headers as well as some information on Gleaner care. Mark?
Today, we're going to take a look at some of the key features on the 9300 Gleaner header. The 9300 header is designed to provide smooth, even crop flow into your Gleaner combine. Let's begin about talking about the structure of the header itself. The header is available in widths from 25 foot to 40 foot for the Gleaner combine. The structure is designed with upper and lower tubes for increased durability. It has a single point hookup for easy attachment and detachment of the header. The end sheets of the header has a narrow profile which reduces the footprint and helps keep the header from plowing or pushing while going through the field. The lightweight design of the dividers and end shields decreases the weight of the end skids, which also helps prevent plowing. There are optional stainless steel skids available as well as a low skid option. To assist with guiding the crop into the header and prevent knocking of the standing crop, there are long divider rods. The header is standard with a fixed pitch for the Gleaner combines, but there is an optional hydraulic pitch available. The unique design of the cutter bar ensures the crop is cut clean and at the right height. The cutter bar itself gets its flexibility with independent dampened tilt arms located every 30 inches throughout the length of the head. The cutter bar has 8 inches of range for flexibility needed in those rolling conditions and keep the cut close to the ground. This, along with the independent tilt arms, allows superior ground coverage, which is protected by sectioned float pads. The flotation is assisted with an accumulator to provide smooth operation and is adjustable from the cab for varying ground conditions. There is also a 5-degree wedge incorporated into the design of the cutter bar, which matches the geometry of the end skid so all components are on a common plane. There are 2 cutter bars available for the 9300, the standard cutter bar and the optional Schumacher cutter bar. The optional Schumacher cutter bar, which has the rollers instead of hold downs and guides, is used on the standard cutter bar. In order to get the crop to the combine, the drapers provide a simplistic design. It requires less maintenance and promotes less downtime. The side draper canvases are 41 inches wide and move at 502 feet per minute to keep the crop flow and keep it away from the cutter bar. To provide consistent tracking and alignment, a V-guide is designed into the header. The stainless steel belt guard on the front provides long wear life and a smooth transition from the cutter bar to the drapers. The inner belt roller has a scraper installed to prevent material buildup. The drive for the drapers is standard with a single-speed drive. The center draper has 48.5 inches wide canvas that moves at 573 feet per minute. The auger is a 21 inch in diameter and 46 1/3 inches long, rotating at 200 RPM. In crop conditions where wrapping may occur, there is a filler kit available for the auger flighting. The center canvas has a synchronous belt drive for the auger and center draper to promote natural flow from the header to the combine. There's also a stainless steel auger pan to increase the life of the pan in this high crop flow area. Clutch protection is incorporated into the drive system for the center draper to protect it should an obstruction occur. And the reel is hydraulically driven. That allows the speed to be adjusted from the cab to optimize the crop flow and is adjustable tine pitch to change the aggressiveness. It also is adjustable fore and aft from the cab to meet varying crop conditions. The reel can be moved forward or rearward to provide more flexibility when needed. The header also has available stabilizer wheels to enhance the header height as well as a transport kit. Also available are stabilizer wheels to enhance header height performance as well as an available transport wheel kit. For the automatic header height operation, the header comes standard with cutter bar sensors which are used for the flex mode. For the rigid mode, there are available drag rods for auto header height control. Two different options are available. The steel drag rods will have two drag rods to read the contour of the ground, or you can get the head sight drag rods, which uses 4 drag rods. That was a quick look at the 9300 draper head for the Gleaner combine, a header that will provide you smooth, consistent feeding and reliable operation. We'll discuss in more detail some of the adjustments and operating tips in a little later in the program. Right now, we're going to go take a look at the 3300 corn head. Here we are with the 3300 series corn head. The corn head is available with 30-inch spacing in 8 and 12-row configurations. Just like the draper head, the corn head has a single-point multi-coupler hookup for the hydraulic and electrical connections. The auger is a 20-inch diameter with 30-inch pitch on the flighting to convey that material to the combine. The conveyor hood is standard equipment and helps control crop flow into the feeder house. The corn head is right-cart row guidance ready as well as head sight auto header height control ready. The heart and soul of the corn head is the row units. The row units on the 3300 corn head are driven with a self-contained gearbox. The snapping rolls have point-to-point design for aggressive pulling of the stalk to strip the cob from the stalk, and the blades are replaceable. The front stalk roll idlers are greaseless, so there's no daily maintenance needed. The deck plates provide the gentler interaction between the cob and the plate due to the smooth bevel design of the deck plates, which helps in reducing head loss. The geometry of the deck plates with the design shape, along with the design of the gathering chains and lugs, produce a reduced gap to reduce row plugging possibilities. The gap of the deck plates are electronically controlled, adjustable from the cab. In order to get the crop to the row units, the snouts on the 3300 corn head have a low profile design with an adjustable entry angle, which helps pick up down and tangled corn. The head has hydraulically controlled fore and aft pitch adjustment of 12 degrees to get the optimal angle needed for picking up the crop. The pitch is adjustable from the cab and includes an accumulator to help absorb the shock loads. The snouts themselves are polyethylene and cove-shaped to promote crop flow into the row units and helps keep the cobs controlled in down and tangled corn. The back of the snout is designed to help prevent cob loss as well, and there's optional ear deflectors available. The snouts have skids at the point to keep the snouts from digging into the ground. Let's talk about the optional stalk chopper that is available on the 3300 corn head. The chopper is a 2-blade design with reversible blades, which promotes a better quality of cut. The position of the blade being more at the rearward position also helps eliminate head loss when chopping, as it allows the stalk rolls to pull the stalk through before actually chopping it. The choppers are individually driven, so each row unit can be disengaged individually with a lever. With the design of the chopper drives and the chopper itself, lower power requirements are needed. One other option to mention is the stalk stompers. They are available for both chopping and non-chopping heads, and they are integrated directly behind the row unit. The stompers will help break up the stalks to improve residue management and helps prevent tire damage. We've gone through the highlights of the 3300 corn head. I feel you can see how this corn head can accentuate the Gleaner combine and provide you with efficiency and worry-free operation while picking corn. One other area to mention, because everyone is aware of the importance of maintenance on the combine, Gleaner has a solution to make this easier for you: Gleaner Care. With the addition of Gleaner Care on your combine, your dealer will perform factory recommended maintenance on the machine for 3 years or 1,250 hours, whichever occurs first. This means that there is no cost to you for parts or labor associated with the factory recommended maintenance during this period. All filters and lubricants are covered as well. It also includes a 10% discount on any wear components during this time frame. Also with Gleaner Care, you'll receive a total of 3 years of warranty and an annual inspection of your machine. The warranty has no deductible, covers all the machine components on your machine. Travel reimbursement is included with Gleaner Care to reduce your out-of-pocket expenses. Gleaner Care is available only for the new S9 Gleaner Combine. Visit with your dealer for details on Gleaner Care and the benefits it can provide you. Thanks for joining us today. Now we'll send it back to Kevin.
Thanks, Mark. Fantastic opportunity to protect your investment with Gleaner Care. Next up is Todd Davis, Marketing Product Specialist for Gleaner, and he is going to give us an update on technology and a bit more information on the heart of a Gleaner, the transverse rotor. Todd?
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of technology on the Gleaner Combine. We can order from the factory how you wish, Ag Leader Ready or Field Star Live. Okay, so the Ag Leader Ready machines will be going through the monitor. You can go through the monitor and press the basket of fries is what we call it, and then you can get it to the Ag Leader monitor itself. Or you can go from our monitor and have the in-command 1200 if you'd rather use it that way. A lot of people do. So you got that option to use one or the other. As far as our guidance options, we have Novotel and we have Trimble monitors available depending on how you order. Okay, so those options include auto center wayline, adaptive curve, and contour segments. Okay, the auto center wayline is auto center the header when you engage the auto guide. The adaptive curve is the ability to go around objects in the field and then return to your original AB or A+ heading. Where your contour segment is the ability to set waylines based on boundary or use the boundary to set waylines. So I just went over the technology on the Gleaner Combine. Now I want to explain to you on how the transverse combine works. So we just talked about the technology the Gleaner Combine offers. Now we're going to talk about the heart and soul and the meat of the Gleaner Combine. We're going to start with the feeder house and the feeder chains. We're 39 inches on the feeder house. A lot of the competitors out there are 50+ inches. So when we bring in 39 inches of crop between the front and rear chain, and we go up to the concaves, we thresh at 39 inches. You know, a lot of the other colors out there, they're going to bring it in that wide swath, okay, and then they're going to roll it through the beater or feeder beater and into a 30-inch cone, which is going to tend to boil it. So not with the Gleaner Combine. We're going to bring it in 39 inches between the front and rear chain. We're going to thresh it at 39 inches, even threshing. From there, on the concaves, like I said, 39 inches. I'm going to keep saying that so you all know it's 39 inches and the reasoning behind 39 inches. But it threshes at 39 inches. Then we have the natural flow rotor that starts wrapping that crop around. It doesn't change 90 degrees like a lot of people think. It's a natural flow action. It kind of comes up and it curves around 2.5 times around, then out the chopper. With our transverse rotor and that natural flow and 39 inches of feeding and thresh, we have 360 degrees of separation. So with that, we can all our MOG goes to our distribution augers, which channel it down to the width of the shoe, and goes to our accelerator roll lugs. Our accelerator roll lugs throw that crop and MOG down 4 times the speed of gravity. That, along with our 2-stage cleaning, is where 2/3 of our cleaning is done on the Gleaner Combine. That's why we say nothing's cleaner than a Gleaner. The chaffer and sieve do the other 2/3 or the other third of the Gleaner cleaning. So from there, all the crop goes into the clean grain trough to the elevator, which is a bigger trough now, a bigger auger, and our elevator can handle it to where we can get that 5,000 bushel an hour, no problem. From there, it goes into the tank. Okay, from the tank, we have a 2-stage unload auger, a bend floor auger, then our swivel auger. That'll unload 4 bushel a second, probably at 4.2 bushel a second. Okay, the fastest in the industry. So that is the heart and soul of the Gleaner Combine. Nobody else out there has that technology. We have it, and we go up to 23-degree hillsides without any shoe leveling kits or anything like that. And it's lightest on the market.
Great, Todd. Thanks. I'm not sure everyone knew the amount of technology packed inside of the Gleaner. All right, next on our agenda this morning is an in-depth session involving inspection points and getting your machines set up for the season. Taking us through that will be Todd Davis and Aaron Beyer, who is a technical service specialist here in Hesston. Remember, as we are going through these in-depth sessions here, you can type comments and questions in the chat. We have a team of people here to answer your questions, We want everyone to get as much information out of this event as possible. So please let us know your questions. Okay, with that, I will turn it over to Todd and Aaron.
Thanks, Kevin. Your daily inspection starts in the engine compartment. The first thing to check are all of your fluid levels, including your hydraulic oil. Use the sight glass on the back side of the hydraulic oil reservoir to check the fluid level. It's important to make sure that the feeder house is dropped all the way to the ground to make sure that all of the oil that's in the system is in the reservoir. If you add fluid with the feeder house raised, there's a likely chance that you're going to overfill the reservoir and cause a mess in the engine compartment. You also want to check to make sure your coolant level is at the correct level, and you also want to check your engine oil using the dipstick on the front side of the engine. The next thing to check is all of the air tubes for the engine, including between the aspirator fan and the pre-cleaner, and from the engine air cleaner to the two turbos, the tubes in between the turbos, the charged air cooler, and then the engine air intake. One of the spots that's often missed is the EGR crossover tube between the EGR valve and the intake to the engine. Any loss of boost is going to cause a diagnostic trouble code and loss of horsepower. While you're checking the air tubes, it's also important to make sure that you check the mass airflow sensor harness and make sure it's securely attached to the harness or to the sensor itself using a zip tie. Air blast from the cooling fan tends to whip that harness back and forth, work hardening the wires inside and causing a possible communication fault and a derate. While you're in the engine compartment, it's also important to go ahead and check out the processor to make sure there's no accumulation of debris or mog on the processor itself. We'll talk a little bit later in the tips and tricks to be able to avoid that buildup of material. The other area to check is on your pre-cleaner. Make sure that the seal on the pre-cleaner is compressed at least 1/4 of an inch between it and the hood of the engine compartment. That will make sure that any debris doesn't get inside your pre-cleaner. It's also a good idea to just make a general inspection around the engine compartment. Check out for any rubs on hydraulic oil hoses or any harnesses or anything like that. And remove any debris that's accumulated here in the engine compartment or in the battery compartment as well. Having that debris build up is just asking for trouble. The return filter is located here on the right-hand rear corner of the machine. If you haven't drained the reservoir yet, have a bucket ready because this is a direct connection into the reservoir. Todd, why don't you tell us a little bit more about our rotary screen here?
So on the rotary screen, there's a few things to look at on a daily basis. Number one, especially if you're in corn, there's going to be always some leaves piling up right in here. It's not going to hurt anything. It's more of an eyesore than anything. It's always good to go ahead and clean it out before you open up the door. Also, if you look in here, we have our combo cooler in here as well. We can lift up out of the way. We want to be able to make sure our spinner there is not going to have any deflection in it. And we want to bend it back and forth, and it should not hit the radiator at all, or the air-to-air cooler. Okay, so on this combine we have smart cool, reversing fan options. In the monitor we can turn on smart cool, we can turn off smart cool, we can turn off reversing fan as well. There's times when you want it to run nothing but just full blow only, or you can have it reverse smart cool. But just say, for instance, soybeans, you want to have it full blow, and then you can reverse it manually whenever you'd like on the headlands, what have you. The whole intent of the smart cool is to save horsepower in the engine. Okay, it's not intended to run the whole season without blowing out the radiator. So I know a lot of people that go and not blow out the radiator for at least 600 hours, which it will do that. I'm not telling you it won't, but it's always good to double check and make sure you blow out your radiator every now and again as well. So we'll go down over here. We'll talk about some more daily maintenance. We do have a grease chart right here on the side of the machine. We have 7 daily greasers. 4 of them are on this side. We have a pivot grease. Our second one's going to be our rotor coupler, and then our rotor variable speed up here. Then we have pivot block grease zerks as well, which Aaron will point out here in a bit. The thing about the rotor variable speed up here is everybody will grease that thing, but they never run it in and out. Okay, once you grease it, you do have to run it in and out so it lubes the whole function of that variable speed. If you don't, it'll tend to lock up and you will not have the functions that it's designed for. So keep in mind, it's easy to do on the rotor variable speed. You grease it in the morning, run your rotor speed up and down. and you're good to go. Set it back to the rotor speed you're at, you're good to go. While we're in this area, I want to talk about the shoe guides. There are wooden blocks here for the shoe guides. They need to be a credit card's width. So what I use is an old hotel key, and you want that gauge to just slide in there snugly. Okay? You use a hotel key card, because if you do this and they're loose and you drop it in there, there's no getting it out unless you pull the chaffer and sieve. So that's why you recommend using hotel key card rather than a credit card or driver's license. Also, while we're here, we're going to talk about the tailings elevator and the clean grain elevator chain tension. Okay, so we have an adjustments down here on both of them. So what we do is we loosen these bolts and just give it a little tug down. Don't use a hammer, okay? Do not use a hammer. Just give it a little tug and then tighten your bolts back up. That's how we want the chain tension on these. Just to rub on the sprocket with a little bit of tension. Okay, let's just say you're out of tension. You see our grooves right here. If the bolts are clear up here, you're out of tension. You're out of adjustment. So you need to take a link out or a half link or add a half link to run that back into a correct tension. Okay. Also, we can see a lot of belts on this machine. Most of them are greaseless idlers, so you don't have to worry about greasing them. We do have spring tensions. Okay. And there is a gap, according to the op manual, to where they need to be. So if you take off a belt and not sure where the spring tension needs to be, get out the op manual. It'll tell you the gap from the bracket to the spring. It'll tell you that gap. So while we're in this area, we're talking about the rock trap. If you know you're in rocky conditions, you need to dump that rock trap 3-4 times a day if you know you're in rocky conditions. If you don't dump the rock trap, it's not going to help you at all. So make sure you dump the rock trap, you open it up. We do have the tool on the side of the elevator, and you can take down. Go in here and clean out the rock trap. Okay? It's always good to open up the bomb bay door before you do that, just so everything can go to the ground. So we talk about chains as well. We have a reverser chain up in here. Okay? According to the op manual, that needs to have a 1/2 inch of play, like that right there. Okay? Our unloader drive belt, per the op manual as well, it's going to have a little play as well. You can see the rest of these belts have spring tension to them. Okay, according to the op manual. Again, I'm going to keep referencing the op manual, guys, because if you don't have the op manual, you're not going to know the correct tensions on these belts. One thing while we're here, we got the hydraulic valve block. We normally have a shield right here. Always keep this clean. Okay, just blow it off, wipe it off every day, make sure it's clean. As we move forward, we talk about maintenance. We have spring tensions for the feeder chains, front and rear. Okay, we put a little gauge here for you so you don't have to get your tape measure out. You just tighten it up to where the end of the gauge touches the washer and you're tight. Same with feeder chains. Maintain daily proper tension. If you're out of adjustment, you'll see that this slot in the feeder house, this bolt will be at the front of the slot. You're out of adjustment. So again, take out a half link, take out a full link or add a half link, whatever it takes to maintain your proper chain tension. I get a lot of questions. How long will my chains, feeder chains and elevator chains last on a combine? I say easily 1,000 hours as long as you maintain the correct tension. So another thing to check on daily maintenance is you have cab filters, an inner and an outer. The outer one you want to check daily. From here, we'll give it to Aaron. He's going to cover the left-hand side of the machine, starting at the feeder house.
On machines equipped with a variable speed header drive, it's important to grease the driven shiv daily. This is regardless whether you're using the variable speed function or not. Even on grain headers, this shiv is maintaining the tension on the drive belt. Located inside the shiv are 2 torque ramps that are constantly maintaining that tension. As the torque demand increases from the header, the ramps squeeze that belt and maintain the tension. If we fail to grease this, you can see that we wear grooves inside the faces of the torque ramps. This will cause the shiv to seize and the belt to slip. It's also important to know how to adjust this shiv as well. We adjust it by using this idler, and we measure at the slowest speed the distance between the two sheave halves. It should be 2.5 to 3 millimeters between the two sheave halves. Another point that you need to do daily is our feeder house pivots. I believe Todd alluded to it earlier. You'll notice the grease fitting here. There's also one over on the right-hand side. Another often missed grease point is the axle couplers located here behind the front axle. There's a total of 4 axle couplers, 2 on each axle shaft. The grease fittings on these couplers need to be greased at least every week. The next lubrication point we're going to talk about is our unloading auger. On our swivel here, you'll notice that there's multiple grease fittings located on the swivel. It's important that we move the unloading auger to multiple positions when we're greasing those fittings. That way we're evenly distributing that grease throughout the swivel itself. It's also important to remember to hit our cross auger bearing as well as the U-joint located inside the swivel itself. We also want to get the ball joints at each end of the swing cylinder and the bearing at the end of the unloading auger. Our next weekly grease point is our larger U-joint for the chopper drive. While we're here, I'd also like to point out the timing adjustment for our accelerator rotor lugs. There's a little access window that we can view that. We want to make sure that the lug is in the center of the other 2 lugs. Next, we're going to talk about our wheels and the hardware holding the wheels on. We want to make sure that we're periodically checking the torque on that, especially if we've removed the drive tires for transport or service. We want to check that hardware after the first 10 hours of operation. Let's also talk about the tire pressure in the tires as well. We need to be checking that, especially if we've got dual tires. The outside dual needs to be 6 to 10 psi lower than the inside dual. This will make sure we protect our final drives. Let's move forward to the transmission and talk a little bit about it as well. Finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about the transmission. There's a couple points I'd like to make there. First, I want to talk about checking the oil level in the transmission every 250 hours. We also want to inspect and clean the breather on the transmission as well. You'll note that on newer transmissions, the breather is located on the top. The wider third gear of the transmission was pushing oil out of the breather in its original location, so we moved it up here. It's also important to change the oil every 500 hours. It's also important to note that the thrust washer inside the transmission was improved last year to increase the life of the thrust washer. Kevin, we're all done here.
Okay, great guys. Thanks. Remember to go ahead and submit any questions you have on the chat and we will get them answered. Okay, next we're going to stay with Todd, but we're going to bring in Craig May, who is a senior project engineer for Gleaner. They are going to help us with tips and tricks to get the most out of the Gleaner Combine, looking at performance, quality, and reliability. Todd, Craig, it's all yours.
So here we are at the processor display. One thing I want to mention first here is a rotor gearbox. We have some customers out there to make it easier checking the oil or draining the oil or even adding the oil. They'll put a cross in here where the elbow is. They'll have a tube coming up and a P-clamp to fill the rotor gearbox. And then they'll have a drain hose coming down to make it easier to drain the rotor gearbox. And then they have an elbow coming up to actually check the level of the gearbox. Okay. So from here, I want to talk about the processor display here. This is the heart and soul of a Gleaner combine. Okay, with a 360-degree separation, 30-inch rotor, our distribution augers for even loading of the shoe, our accelerator roll lugs that throw the crop or mog down 4 times the speed of gravity, with the 2-stage air. Again, this is the heart and soul of the Gleaner combine. I'm going to talk specifically on the threshing side of it. Okay, so we do have all crop concaves here. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and this is our rotor. As you can see, we have reverse bars here. They're painted in orange. There's 4 reverse bars factory. Then we can see over here we have our flights, our threshing flights. This is also from the factory. So the reversing bars, there's 4 of them from the factory, work best in all conditions. Not saying you need to remove some reverse bars every now and again, which you may. But keep in mind you're going to need them back at some point. So that's why I say leave the factory configuration on the rotor. The flights themselves, over the thrashing end, they do a couple things here. You got 3 of them every other row. So what they do is when that crop comes in, it gets it threshed and out of there. So the crop on the rotor gearbox side of the concave would tend to, before the flights, would tend to rethresh and rethresh again here. This is where you'd see excessive wear on the second row of cylinder bars, and you hear the growl of the combine. When it goes through this field, you hear it growl. So these flights help fluff that crop, gets it threshed and out of there. It also reduces rotor loss, believe it or not. Okay. Another thing I'd like to talk about, tips and tricks as well. If you're in wheat, especially running a stripper head, a showborn stripper head, you're going to want to put filler plates on. So there's 4 filler plates that come in the rotor or the toolbox of the combine. There's before of them. You put 1 filler plate on each concave to cover the first 2 or 3 rows. You're definitely going to want that, especially if you run into hard thrashing wheat. You get white caps in the bin. Wheat's about the only crop you're really going to use those filler plates. Another thing I want to talk about is concave level. It don't matter what color of combine you run, but we're going to talk about Gleaner here. You have to have the correct concave level. If you don't, if it's too tight this way, you're going to grind the crop and make flour. If it's too tight to the right, you're going to have excessive rotor loss. You're going to have unthreshed pods, unthreshed wheat. So the correct way to level the concave is to suck the concave all the way up. What I do is pull concaves 2 and 3, 2 and 3. You pull 1 out, lay it aside, remove 2 and 3, put your 1 back in. Once we do that, we have the second row down on each concave. They're painted white here. Second row down, and you find the high cylinder bar. From the high cylinder bar, we want that gap to be 1/8 of an inch, both sides. To adjust that, if you're off, to adjust that, you pull these little pins out here, use your adjustment rod to get the desired width you want, 1/8 of an inch, both sides. Once you get that done, you're good, 1/8 of an inch, both sides, second row down, you can put those back on, and then you go to the cab and you will calibrate the concave. You made a change to the concave, you got to calibrate it all the time. A lot of people think when they calibrate the concaves, this is the second bar down. It is not the second bar down, that is the third bar down. This is the second bar down. It's up here, again, painted in white. The op manual will tell you you can put a gauge up in here and check your concave level. I'm going to tell you that's really hard to do. If I were to do it, if you were to do it, I'd do it the way I'm telling you. It's a lot easier. It does take a little more time, but it's a peace of mind that your concave is level. So this is the threshing side of the processor. Now I'm going to hand it over to Craig, and he can cover the separating side of the processor.
This is the separating side of the rotor from here to the end. We normally have, from the factory, we have a cover that covers this area here. And then there's also one that goes up underneath here. You can take those out if you're experiencing rotor loss. Usually that'll clear up your issues. You can also try concave clearance changes and rotor RPM changes. If you get into a condition where you're experiencing some cage plugging, normally it'll happen in this area. If it does happen, you may have to put those covers back in. And also you would want to try slowing your rotor down first, and then if that doesn't cure it up, put the cage covers back in. And now back to Todd for a wrap-up.
So that's been the tips and tricks portion of this. For now, I'll hand it off to Kevin, and if you have any questions on tips and tricks of the Gleaner Combine, make it better, any performance-related questions, reach out to your dealer, and they'll help you out. Kevin?
Thanks, Craig. Todd? Now that we know we can get a ton of performance out of the Gleaner, we have to make sure that we get our headers set up right in order to feed this beast. And taking us through the header section is once again Mark Broomgart and David Holt, Chief Engineer for Headers here at Hesston. Also, remember, if you have any questions on any of these sections, please go ahead and enter them in the chat and we will get them answered for you. Mark, David, take it away.
Thanks, Kevin. We're going to take a walk around the 9300 header and show you some tips and tricks and some adjustments that need to be paid attention to while you're going through the harvest season. We're going to start with a single point hookup. Just like we talked about earlier, it allows you to hook the header up with just one simple connection. While we're in this area, we also want to talk about the difference between the drag rods for automatic header height when in the rigid mode and the cutter bar sensors for when you're in the flex mode. The cutter bar sensors are located throughout the header on the stabilizer arms. And if you're running on the cutter bar sensors in flex mode, or if you do switch to drag rods, you do need to make a switch in the connection here at the harness. There's two different connectors. They have the labels for cutter bar or for drag rods. So since we are operating in the flex mode now, we're going to hook up the cutter bar. Once connected, we're ready to operate in cutter bar mode, but one thing we need to do is to make sure that the cutter bar sensors are adjusted correctly. To adjust the cutter bar sensors, start and unhook all the sensors except for the outside two. Have the header up so it's pressured up all the way, and then you want to adjust the outside two cutter bar sensors to approximately 1 volt. The important thing is to make sure they are equal. As you do that, then you continue on and adjust the other cutter bar sensors equally. You can read these cutter bar sensors on the diagnostics mode on the monitor inside the cab. So very important, if you do have drag rods, as mentioned earlier in our quick search of the header, we talked about the availability of drag rods. You have the standard drag steel rods, which has 2 drag rods, or the head sight rods, which has 4 drag rods to follow the contours of the ground when you're in rigid mode. We have our drive shaft hooked up to the combine. This header drive shaft continues on, and it'll run throughout the header to run the sickle and other components on the header. As we look at the first area we want to talk about with the drive shaft is as the header drive shaft comes out, it goes up to run our center auger. Our center auger driver then goes over into another shaft which goes into the auger itself. One area, a lube point we want to pay attention to is the lube point here on the slip clutch. This is a 50-hour lube point, and if we look at the lube chart located on the header, it will point out all the other lube points that you need to look at to make sure that the header is lubricated properly. So that's a quick look at the drive and how we come out into the header itself. David's going to take us through the sickle adjustments and the sickle drive now.
I'd like to point out a couple of components here on the end of the header to start with. First, we have the sickle drive shaft, which has a dampener which reduces the shock loads to the drive. Coupled with that is a heavy-duty flywheel, which also reduces the loads. A couple of things that you do want to pay attention to here when you're operating the header, when you're hooking it up, is to make sure that the sickles are in time. They need to be 180 degrees out of phase to minimize the vibration on the header. To do that, with the drive shaft disconnected, simply rotate the flywheel and pull the sickle out to the farthest extent, and then repeat the same thing for the other side, and then your sickles will be in time. While we're talking about sickle timing, we probably also ought to look at the sickle register. So here from the end, we need to make sure that the sickle section is aligned with the guard. Come take a look at this with me here. So a couple things to point out. Again, with the register, we need to make sure that the section is aligned with the sickle guard. This header is equipped with the Schumacher sickle, which has rollers instead of spring hold downs and wear plates. So on it, we want to look and make sure that the rollers roll freely, and we want to look at the sickles and the guards to check them for wear. If we're talking about the convex sickle, then we need to have regular inspection of the hold downs and the wear plates to make sure that the sickle is tight. One other thing to point out on this end of the header is we've updated the end panel with the 9300. We have the end panel removed, but we have a narrower section now that helps divide the crop. And then we have a removable divider point, which is just a receiver style point that couples into the end. I think I'll turn it back over to Mark and he can take you around the center.
Thanks, David. I want to talk just a little bit about the center draper and the auger itself. The center draper does have a couple of adjustments as far as tension that we need to make sure. Also a tracking adjustment inside of the center draper itself. For the tension adjustments, you want to make sure that it's adjusted equally on both sides, which also affects the tracking. And we have the center draper tension adjustment by installing the wrench on the end here and adjusting the ratchet mechanism to lock in place. We want to make sure again that we do both sides equally to make sure the draper tracks correctly. Also, while we're in this area, we want to talk about the center auger. You'll notice on this particular header we have the filler strips already in the auger. Those are available as an option should you get into a crop, or you have auger wrapping conditions that may occur where you can install that filler kit and take the aggressiveness of that center auger away. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to David, and he's going to go more over on the draper and some reel adjustments.
Before we move to the end, let's look here. One of the things we need to adjust, or at least verify, is our tine clearance to the sickle. We want to make sure that we're not going to be able to clip our tines when we're harvesting. So to do this with the reel all the way down and the cutter bar pressurized, we can check the clearance of the tine. It should be at least 3 inches in height. And then you can make an adjustment to the reel lift cylinders on each end. Let's look at the tine adjust here on the end. So with this header, we can adjust the aggressiveness of the tines for improved feeding. If we're in a condition where the crop is not effectively being conveyed onto the belt, we can adjust the tines to make them more aggressive. And conversely, if the tines are lifting the crop off of the belt, we can adjust it down to be less aggressive. To adjust the time clocking, there's 3 bolts located here and a lever that we can rotate. And then there's an indicator here to help you remember which way to adjust it. Plus would make the tines more aggressive. So we'd want to adjust the tines when we're in changing crop conditions. If we're in down and heavy crop, we probably want the tines to be more aggressive. If we're in lighter crop, we can make it a little less aggressive. The other adjustment we can make is we have fore aft reel control from the cab, but we can move the reel forward and backward as well. If we're in really light crop and we need help getting the material onto the belt, we can move it back. If we're in down crop, we can push it forward to better lift the crop. Let's go around to the back of the header and we can look at a couple of more things. So if we take the end shield off, we can see the drive for the draper. One of the things we want to make sure that we look at is the draper drive gears. If they're improperly adjusted, we'll start to see high wear. There is a service adjustment tool that you can get from your dealer that will ensure that we have the proper adjustment. So we want to look at the shaft position and the backlash to make sure that the gears are properly adjusted. While we're here, we can also look at the tension mechanism for the draper belt. We have an included wrench which allows us to tension the belts that goes on, and we can make sure that we have proper tension. Initially, when we set up the header, we need to make sure that the tracking is correct, that the draper is not tracking too high to the front or to the back. And we can do that by adding and removing shims here on the draper drive box. So if the draper is tracking too high to the top, we need to move shims to the other side. So with that, I think we'll turn it back over to Mark and he can show you some stuff in the center.
A couple of more lube points we want to talk about while we're talking about the lubrication and maintenance of the machine. One of them is out here on the header drive gearbox, sickle drive gearbox itself. On the sickle drive gearbox, we want to lower the header down so the cutter bar is all the way to the ground, and we remove the plug to check the oil level in the gearboxes. Want to make sure we do that every 50 hours as the operator manual states. Another area that's often missed as we talk about lubrication on these headers is here in the center of her on the clutch. There's a clutch and splines located here that is often missed when the lubrication is done on the machine. Need to make sure that could, although it may repeat say 50 hours in the operator's manual or on the lube chart, it's a good idea to grease that one every day and get in the habit. Your lube area in here, you want to make sure you raise your header up, set your header stop down on the cylinder, and go underneath to grease that clutch as well as the splines. Again, very often missed. Also want to talk about a couple of options we have on the 9300 header. The first is a stabilizer kit. Stabilizer wheels are available so you can set them for flex mode, rigid mode, or transport mode, and really help the header contour the ground and follow the contours of the ground. Another kit available is a transport wheel kit. The transport wheel kit will allow you to tow the header behind your combine or behind a pickup to go from field to field. Now here we are on the 3300 series corn head walk around. we're going to show you some tips and tricks and adjustments to be made to the corn head. Just like the 9300, we have the single point hookup here on the 3300 corn head. So in order to hook it to a combine, we're going to bring it around and snap it in place. Also, we have our drive shaft coming off the combine, goes out to the end of the header, which we'll talk about in a minute when we get to the auger drive. Also on the 3300 corn head, we have the accumulator. This accumulator cushions the load, the hydraulic load on the header itself. One point to keep in mind on the accumulator is you want to make sure you have it turned on or you do not have that cushion. So make sure the accumulator, the handle is in line with the hoses, and that's when the accumulator is in the on position. It may be necessary to turn the accumulator off if you are loading or hooking up or unhooking the header on a trailer or any other type of situation if you cannot quite control it well enough with the accumulator on. But again, operating in the field, you want to make sure you have that accumulator turned on. Also keep in mind, if you do unload and load on a trailer, a couple of pointers you want to make sure you have. First off, make sure your parking stands are all the way in the up position as they are shown here. Also, make sure you have the header pitched fully forward when you unhook it on a trailer. This just makes it easier to hook back up when you're done, when you're ready to go into the field. So let's go to the end of the header here and we'll talk one more thing on the auger drive. As I mentioned, our drive shaft comes off from the combine and goes back into the auger drive and the gearbox drive here on the side. Underneath this shield is a slip clutch for the auger drive. We want to be sure you do lube that slip clutch. Per the lube chart, I believe it is a 50-hour lube that gets. And then we come around with the drives and goes on to drive our row units. With that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and he's going to talk about the row units.
Let's talk about some of the design features on the rows, and we can start with the plastic. The snout is long and slender and is designed to get under down crop and lift it and guide it into the row unit. And then in the back, we have a ledge that's angled that helps deflect the corn cobs down into the crop stream. And then there's several features on the gather itself that help funnel the loose grain back into the crop stream, and even including a bulge in the back that helps divert the crop material. The points on this can easily be adjusted and leveled. From the underside, there's a hand nut where we can level the points across the length of the head. Now on the row unit itself, we can start with the chain. So the chain on this on this head has the rework for the more aggressive lugs. And then we have a greaseless bushing that doesn't require any maintenance on the front. And then one of the things you want to make sure you check is the tension on the chain. You should have about 1/4 of an inch of this rod exposed for the proper chain tension. Next are the deck plates. We have some unique features on the deck plates. We start with a beveled design that cradles the end of the corn cob to help prevent butt shelling. For model year 21, we have some improvements to the deck plate as well, where we've made some changes to the geometry to reduce the clearance between the deck plate and the chain to prevent row plugging. I think at this point we can raise the header and take a look at some of the things underneath. All right, so let's start with the stock rolls. The stock rolls have a point-to-point knife design, which gives us an aggressive pull on the stock and pulls it down through the deck plates to pop the ear off of the stock. One thing I forgot to mention when we were on the top is the deck plates are obviously adjustable from the cab, and there's an indicator gauge on the back of the header. On the stock rolls themselves, the knives are fully replaceable, so if they start to get worn, we can replace those with new knives. Next, let's look at the choppers. So on the choppers, we have the chopper right at the back of the row unit. This placement is so that we can pull the stock through the deck plates and then chop it. And that prevents some of the ear loss. If the chopper is too far back, then it's not effective on chopping. So also not included on this head, but available, are stock stompers. They're available for both this chopping head and the non-chopping head, and they feature an integrated design which bolts on directly behind the row unit to completely crush the crop and protect tires. Mark, why don't you go ahead and lower it? So the next feature we want to look at are the head sight height sensors. The header comes pre-wired for either 2 or 4 head sight sensors, and the sensors are available in 2 and 4 sensors per kit configuration, and that'll give us good control over our header height. The next function is the Ricart row guidance, and again the combine comes pre-wired and ready for Ricart row guidance. All you have to do is add the sensor, which is available through AGCO parts. Mark, why don't you talk about the auger?
Sure, just a couple things on the auger we want to talk about. Mentioned the auger is a 20-inch diameter auger with a 30-inch pitch. That 30-inch pitch really helps to get the material conveyed to the combine itself. Also with the design and the placement of the auger, it's rather close to the gathering chains, actually a little overlap that helps grab that cob and move it to the combine. One adjustment to look for on the auger is the clearance between the auger flighting and the pan itself. Should be about 1/4 to 1/2 inch clearance in there to keep the cobs rolling down into the combine. Also, standard equipment on the 3300 corn head is the conveyor hood. The conveyor hood is there to help knock that material down and into the combine instead of letting it go over the feeder house itself. So that's a look at the 3300 corn head. A few pointers, a few tips we gave you, some things to check as far as maintenance and keeping an eye on things for your corn head. With that, we'll turn it back to Kevin and move on to the next subject. Kevin?
Great information, guys. Thanks. Okay, now that we have an idea on getting the outside of the machine set to run at its best, let's turn to the cab, where Josh Ekholm, Engineering Manager, and Chris Morrison from our Fuse team are going to lead us through getting the monitor in the cab set up and ready to run. Josh, Chris, it's all yours.
Thanks, Kevin. As we take a look at the technology setup and usage within our Titan terminal today, I think we've got a really great tool in Hesston. We've got a simulator here that Chris Morrison is going to help us walk through. Chris, can you give us just a little bit of background about what we're going to be looking at today?
So today we're going to be using our Gleaner cab simulator to go through the technology features on the Gleaner S9 combine. Our first topic today will be task creation in the Titan terminal.
All right. Thanks, Chris. You know, Task Controller, we've really expanded the opportunities to share the important yield, moisture, and other data used to make agronomic decisions. Spending the time to set these tasks up correctly only makes life easier when it's time to use that data, either yourself or often using an agronomist to make decisions on seed and fertilizer. The other benefit to a clean setup of your tasks is maximizing the use of terminal memory to record that data. The options to export the data with a USB storage device or via wireless data transfer give you the power to select what makes the most sense. Chris, can you show us how easy it is to set up a task?
Yes. So first we'll double tap on the task icon, which is located the third icon down on the right hand side. Next, we want to make sure that our terminal is set up to properly record our tasks, so we'll select the wrench with the floppy disk. We just want to make sure that our connections are set to USB device, that our task handling is activated, and our automatic pause and start is set. If these options need to be changed, please select the white box to change your options. Once completed, select the green check. Now that we have our options set up, we'll go ahead and push the back arrow to create our task. First, we'll tap in the white box that says No Task Selected. Next, we'll push the plus sign to add the task. For this example, our task name will be Wheat 2020. Once completed, select the green check. Now that we have our task name there, we'll go ahead and select the green check. Once our task is created, a pop-up will appear saying that our combine and combine header have been added to the task. Select the green check. Now that we have our combine and combine header added, we will go ahead and select the Add Attribute icon to add our grower, farm, and field. Next, we will select our field attribute to add the field. Once selected, select the green check.
Okay, don't move. Stay there. I'm still recording. Go ahead.
To add the field, select the plus sign. For this example, we will use Home 40 for our field name. Once entered, select the green check. Next, the field size icon or box will appear to enter the size of the field. For this example, we will use 40 acres. Now that our field has been entered, select the green check. Our next icon will appear, do you want to use the Home 40 for your guidance system? For this example, yes we do, and we will select the green check. And what this will allow us to do is when we go to set our guidance pattern later on in the video, our field name will automatically populate on our guidance page. To add the next attribute for our farm, we will go ahead and select the attribute icon. Next, we will select our farm attribute. Once selected, push the green check. To add our farm, we will select the plus sign. To enter for this example, we will use Hesston LLC for our farm name example. Once completed, select the green check. Now that our farm has been added, select the green check to complete the process. Now, as you can see, we have our field name and our farm added. So now we'll go ahead to complete the grower, farm, and field process. We will add our customer attribute. To add the customer select the customer attribute. Once selected, push the green check. To add the customer, push the plus sign. To add the customer, we will use John Doe for our example. Once completed, select the green check. Now that our customer is added, we will go and select the green check. Now that we have our field, our farm, and our customer added to our task, we can go ahead and start our task. Select the Start Task icon in the very top right corner of the Titan terminal. So now that we know our task is started, we can see our bottom center of the screen has changed to counter acres, and we have now successfully created a task in the Titan terminal. Josh, do you want to describe our live map features?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for that setup. For operators that are really interested in using the live mapping features of the Titan terminal, we have a couple of habits really to develop there to keep simplicity of setup and minimize any other annoyances. It is really key to start a new field each time. Actually, start a new field. Every time you move, start one new. The memory and performance of your Titan terminal is maximized at that point, so we can harvest those large fields without any issue, and the terminal doesn't have to try to do the calculations or map all the area in between those fields. It can really continue to provide a yield map as you start into those discussions for what comes next in your crop as you analyze your live yield. Chris, can you go ahead and show our audience again how to set this one up for success?
Yes. Thanks, Josh. So what we want to do is we want to expand our map screen to the full screen. So we'll select the icon in the lower left corner of the Titan terminal. Now that we have our map on our full screen, we'll go ahead and select the total worked area in the bottom center of the Titan terminal. So now we can see we have our attributes. We have our total worked area and our as-applied combine in bushels per acre. To make sure that everything is set up properly, we want to go ahead and select our attribute icon. So here in the Titan terminal, we have our different map layers. We have our combine header layer in bushels per acre, our combine head in pounds per acre, and our combine header percentage. In your combine, the default for these three options will be your combine header has a green check. So now that we've got our map layer set up correctly, we'll go ahead and select the green check. Now, to show you how to delete your coverage area, we'll go ahead and select our coverage map icon. So here it shows our automatic, or manual and automatic. It shows our manual color selection, which can be blue or green. And to delete our coverage area, we'll go ahead and select the trash can. This will help maximize the performance in your Titan terminal in your Gleaner combine. And it's going to ask you, reset displayed worked area for the current field. And we want to do this to show you how it works for this example, so we'll go ahead and select the green check. And we'll select the green check again. So now we see our coverage map has been deleted, and now we're starting to paint again.
Thanks, Chris. This is really one of the key points for our discussion here today. This is a great reminder, and once the user gets in the habit of this one, it's nice to keep it simple and keep that memory maximized in the terminal.
So now that we've deleted the coverage data from our map, we'll go ahead and export our task data from the terminal. To export our task data, we'll go ahead and double tap on the display with a wrench twice. Now we'll go ahead and select the USB icon in the top right-hand corner of the Titan terminal. So now we have our field icon, our machine settings icon, and our task data icon. To display the task data, go ahead and select the task data icon. Now that our task data is displayed in the terminal, we can go ahead and export it off. To export the data, select Wheat 2020. To export the data onto the USB stick, go ahead and select the single down arrow. Our data has been successfully exported off the terminal. As you can see, it went from our task file to our task name. To verify that the task data has been exported successfully off the terminal, insert your stick to your PC. Now that we have successfully exported data off the terminal, we can turn off the task data icon. If you wish to export the field data only, go ahead and select the field icon in the top right-hand corner of the terminal. We see our field that we created earlier, Home 40. To export the field, highlight the field. You can also use the multiple down arrows to export all USB data. You will also receive a warning that it will take several minutes to export field data containing worked area, and basically saying, do you want to continue? To continue, select the green check. Our field has been successfully copied onto the USB stick.
Chris, thanks for taking us through the live mapping and the task controller setup portion. That's really good information. I think we're ready now to actually get the wheels turning and simulate what it looks like to harvest some crop. Can you get us started with some wayline setup and use our guidance menu?
All right, so we'll go ahead and use our Titan simulator here to create a guidance pattern. All right, so now we'll go ahead and create a guidance pattern in our Titan terminal. So we'll go ahead and double tap on the auto guidance icon, which will be the second icon from the top in the Titan terminal. So now we will select our field icon, which will be in the top right-hand corner of the Titan terminal. From our previous task creation earlier, we see we already have our field name in there. So next we'll go ahead and create our wayline, which we'll go ahead and select the Add Wayline button. Next, we will go ahead and select the type of wayline that we would like to use. For this example, we will go ahead and use A plus angle and select the green check. Our angle will be displayed in the Titan terminal. Go ahead and select the green check to continue. Now that we have selected the green check, now we will go ahead and select our A point to start our wayline. Once that has been, now that our wayline has successfully been created, we will go ahead and select the steering wheel with the floppy disk. And it's going to ask us, do we want to override our existing wayline? We want to say yes. To use the wayline that we just created, we want to make sure that our guidance system is turned on our combine on the multifunction armrest. So we'll go ahead and select the steering wheel here and make sure a red light comes on. And once that's been selected, we can now see that the weigh line is displayed on the Titan terminal. So now we'll go ahead and push our propulsion handle forward, and we'll engage the guidance by pushing the A with the steering wheel on the Titan terminal. Now we see our steering wheel is turned green and the machine is correcting to center on the weigh line. We now have successfully created a guidance pattern in the Titan terminal. Josh, do you want to describe how we're going to utilize the nudge feature in our Titan terminal?
Yeah, thanks Chris. Thanks for setting that up. One of the most interesting things that we see in some of these reviews with customers is what features customers are loving and which ones the customers aren't even aware that they have. Nudge is one of those good examples. Used mostly in the situation where the machine is running sub-meter guidance, or maybe where some crop is lodged and you need to nudge the machine over a bit. That's really where this is used. Chris, can you show us how to set that feature up and use that?
Yes. So from our weigh line creation page, we'll go ahead and push the back button. So now we can see we have our manual nudge offset and our total nudge. To input a nudge offset, we'll go ahead and select our white box here. So now we're going to have two boxes. We'll have our feet and we'll have our inches. So now we'll go ahead and make sure that we've selected our box in inches. Josh, do you want to go ahead and describe how we utilize that?
Yeah, that's a really good point to select it in inches, because usually we want to see maybe either 3 or 6 inches selected. I would say that 6 inches as a selection is the most common one used by customers today.
So now that we have 6 inches entered into the combine, we'll go ahead and select the green check to complete the process. So now that we have entered 6 inches, that's all right. So now that we have entered 6 inches into our offset, our nudge box, we'll go ahead and select the green check to complete the process. Now that you can see in our manual nudge that we have 6 inches in our offset box. There are a couple different ways you can utilize the nudge function. You can utilize the trigger on the back of the multifunction handle, or you can push it from the display here to nudge left or to nudge right. First we will do it from the display. As you can see, as we tap nudge, we can see a green arrow has appeared, and now our weigh line is moving our 6 inches. And now that the machine will recenter. Also, as you can see, we have it here. Also now in our total nudge box, you see our total weigh line has moved a total of 6 inches. Josh, do you want to describe what the total nudge offset is used for?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chris. So this is a good reminder as the user travels across the field how far they've actually moved the total weigh line. One other example that's really used often with this is when you come back from a long period of time, especially if you're using sub-meter guidance, to reset this number to 0. Can you show us that, Chris?
Yeah. To reset that number, we're going to go ahead and select our 0, 0, and we can see that our weigh line has been returned to its original position. Also, if we would like to nudge this weigh line, we can use the trigger on the back of the multifunction handle by selecting it left or right. For this example, we will move the weigh line to the right. As you can see, the weigh line is moving to the right, and our total nudge offset has returned to 6 inches. Now you have successfully completed the nudge setup in the Titan terminal.
All right, thank you, Chris. Can you go ahead and show us what it looks like to create that weigh line from our mapping screen?
All right, to create a weigh line from the map screen, go ahead and make your map the entire screen by selecting the expand map icon. Once that has been selected, go ahead and select your utility tools icon and then select the plus sign for your map tools. Now we are going to go ahead and select add a weigh line. For this example, we are going to use A plus angle. Select A plus angle and select the green check. For this example, for our angle, we are going to use 180 degrees. Once your angle is entered, select the green check to continue. To mark your position, select the A point. This will mark your position for your weigh line. Now that the weigh line has been successfully completed in the terminal, go ahead and select the steering wheel with the floppy disk. For this example, we want to override our weigh lines. Select the green check. To display the weigh line, select the combine in the gray rectangle in the top center of the terminal. Once your weigh lines are displayed, select the Auto Guidance Engage button on the multifunction handle. Now we have successfully engaged on a wayline we have created from the map screen.
Thanks for taking us through that section, Chris. And really the whole technology section. Makes a big difference to be able to see it on a simulator step by step. Great work. And thank you for being able to join us for this section of the Hesston Live event. Back to you, Kevin.
Great, guys. Good reminder for everyone on getting the monitor set up and ready to run. All right, our next on our agenda is Mark Broomgart and Kyle Kitt, Regional After Sales Manager, and they are going to take us through a section on the AGCO Support Network and getting a more in-depth look at Gleaner care. Remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and enter them in the chat and we will get you the answers. Okay, Mark, Kyle.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at the Gleaner After Sales key items. So first of all, let's start with parts, support, and fill rate. This is going to show and help you understand how we can get you with parts on time when you need it, at the right place, at the right time. 3 different ways to help you with these items is first at the customer level. We do have parts on demand programs that can help you with the parts that you need for in season. The second option is with your dealership. We work with the dealer by product on their history and seasonality of when they need parts for you in season, as well as our recommended stocking list for those products. And then the third option is going to be through AGCO. And here's where you can see how we rate ourselves with our system fill and our facing fill. What system fill means is somewhere within our network of parts centers, we have that part that you need to get to you as soon as possible. So if you don't have the part already, and if you go to the dealership and they do not have the part on hand, somewhere in our system, we will try to fill that as quickly as possible. And as you see, overall in 2020, we are sitting at over 98% system fill. This will be the 3rd straight year AGCO has achieved system fill of over 98%. The next number, which will never be as high as system fill, is facing fill. What this means is the parts center that is closest to the dealership and you as a customer has that part readily available to just send right to you right away. And you can see here we are almost 90%, which is our ultimate goal of a 90% facing fill at all of our parts centers. This means that 9 times out of 10, and when a dealer needs a part, either for their stocking or for you as a customer right away, that system has it right away to send to you, to send to the dealership. And then also, as you can see, 9.8 times out of 10, somewhere within the AGCO parts centers, we have that to get to you right away. Now that, as AGCO overall, is best in class. System and facing fill, those are some of the best numbers you'll find in the industry. But if you look below at Gleaner, on our fill rates with just the Gleaner brand, the system fill is over 99%, and our facing is almost 94%. So you think about any brand out there in North America, those are going to be some of the best system and facing fill numbers you will ever find, and we're offering those right now in 2020 with the Gleaner Combine. And to go along with our part support and availability, here's a layout of our whole goods, parts, and service dealers across North America with the Gleaner brand. And so you can definitely see some pretty heavy focus with our network in the Great Lakes region, as well as the Corn Belt, and also a pretty good line right along the wheat run as well, that usually spreads all the way from Texas up to Western Canada. That's also the same line that we have additional support with some additional parts-only dealers, as well as the tech van that will every year make that wheat run with the custom harvesters, starting in Texas all the way up to the Canada border. So this helps show you, especially we're in those key combine areas, the wheat belt, the Midwest corn belt, as well as in those Great Lakes regions, we do have many dealers for the whole goods, parts, and service to help you with your Gleaner Combine in season as well as post-season. And speaking of post-season, we'd like to dive into some of our commercial programs as well and talk about some options that will help you with your combine, not only in but also out of season with some off-season maintenance. And the first thing to really kick off there is PM360. This is our off-season maintenance program designed to help you as a customer, before you get into your next harvest season, be able to go through that machine as an inspection with the dealership to identify any key wear or just needed inspection areas for repair that they can help you with before you go to harvest. This is going to help you, when you get to that next harvest, have a fully field-ready machine that is going to minimize any potential downtime you could have and really maximize your uptime potential. We even do, if you do use this program, we even do offer a 10% parts discount of any of the repairs that do take place after the inspection is complete. And another way to help you out with this further is, whether if it's your off-season repair or a large parts order, we have an account that you can get set up with AGCO Finance that's called AGCO Plus. This gives you flexible payment options throughout the entire year to fit you and your needs of when you're getting your cash flow to benefit your payments. And something that we usually run only at the end of the year and then also at the beginning of the next year is our no interest, no payments for up to 180 days. However, this is something that we started back in April as an extension for 2020, and on July 1st, we decided to announce another extension of this option so that all of 2020, for you as a customer, you have the option of no interest and no payments for up to 180 days. Again, to help benefit you on when it's going to best fit your operation, for when you need to make your payments and maximize your cash flow throughout the year. And the last key area to really focus on is Gleaner Care. Gleaner Care is a program that many dealers and customers out there might be familiar with over the last about 8 years that it's been running. Originally, it was a program available only in local areas that were close enough to parts centers within a certain radius so that the dealers could help with the support that the customers needed for the program. It was also something that ran for 2 years, which fell under the machine's warranty. Well, now we have rolled out in 2020 Gleaner Care 2.0. So this is a new updated program that now goes beyond the 2-year warranty and also is available to any Gleaner customer or Gleaner dealer out there in North America. A few key items to really understand about Gleaner Care and how it can benefit your operation is, first of all, the Genuine Care package. That is going to give you 36 months, 1,250 hour interval maintenance support. So based on machine intervals, you are going to get your preventative maintenance through filters, lubrications, other key points that the dealer is going to be able to update on your machine, as well as be able to be around the machine for some inspection at that time as well to identify any other areas that need addressed. Through these intervals in a 3-year period, that means your machine is getting maximized on the performance it needs through maintenance support, and it's also helping you keep the best uptime you can get. And the third thing is, when you think about the machine's lifetime value and the resale value when it is ready to be traded in, having this documented inspection list and showing that these have all been performed has the potential to help your resale value as well. The next piece is going to be AGCO protection. So this is also going to be your 36 months and up to 1,200 hour coverage. And this is an ultimate coverage. So what this means is, throughout your first 2 years, you still have your Gleaner header to spreader warranty. But in that 3rd year, AGCO protection kicks in, and the ultimate coverage is our highest extended service coverage that we offer, meaning powertrain, hydraulics, even many electrical components are all covered under this protection plan for the 3rd year of the machine. However, this can even go one step further than standard warranty, because with our ultimate coverage, you and the dealer also has support from AGCO for up to 4 hours of travel time on a warrantable repair trip. So in some cases, this even can go beyond what you're used to with your standard factory or warranty. The last piece is going to be your dealer parts and service support. On the parts side, this is going to give them 24/7 parts access, and any machine down situations do get bumped right to the top of the list so that you have the top priority as that customer to get your machine running again. And on the service side, the dealer is going to have extended hour options with our technical service support, so that during those long hours that you spend in the harvest and on those weekends that you're still picking corn, cutting beans, that dealership that you work with through Gleaner Care is going to have that extended time to get a hold of our technical support staff to help you with any potential repair issues that might come up. So as you see, these 3 key areas, they are all designed not only to proactively help keep you up and running in the field, but if something was to happen, it's there to support you on the back end as well. So overall, with these 3 areas, the key things that you see for Gleaner Care is our ability to help you maximize your uptime in the field, but if an issue does come up, we got you covered with support on the parts and service side, not only for you, but also the dealership that's working with you on your Gleaner Care program. So with that, those are the key items that we wanted to hit on for our after sales for Gleaner, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it back over to Kevin.
Good stuff, guys. I appreciate it. Excellent tools available to support customers here at AGCO. Okay, our last section for today is how to properly store your machine. We have Todd Davis and Aaron Beyer back again, and they want to take you through an in-depth look at the best practices to make sure your Gleaner has a long life and is as reliable as it can be for years to come. Todd, Aaron, if you're ready, take it away.
When you're preparing the machine for storage, it's important to get as much material off of the outside and out of the inside of the machine as possible. It's recommended to use compressed air prior to washing the machine. That way, any accumulated dirt or dust doesn't turn into mud when you're washing it. It's also important to avoid any area with sensitive electrical equipment or interconnects between harnesses. Any water that gets into those connectors is going to create an electrical fault later. So we've kind of talked a little bit about removing the material from the outside of the machine. Todd's going to tell you a little bit about getting rid of the material from inside of the machine.
So there's a few things we should do first. Number one, probably go up in the engine compartment, open up the processor door, make sure the cage is completely cleared off. Okay, make sure everything's down to accelerator roll lugs. Then we can get in the cab and open up the chaffer, sieve, the concave, and the fan choke wide open. We engage the machine, both header and separator, run it at full throttle for a good 3 to 4 minutes, make sure it's all good and cleaned out. From there we can shut the machine down. We'll come around to the rock trap. But before we open the rock trap, we want to open up our bomb bay door down here. So when we open the rock trap, everything falls to the ground, doesn't just lay on the door. So we'll open up the rock trap. Okay, we have a tool that's on the clean grain elevator here. This is the tool. This is what we use to clean out the rock trap. So you come in through here and you can poke around, clean out the whole rock trap. So once you're done cleaning out the rock trap, we can go to our bomb bay door. We can close the bomb bay door. Another area to look as well is the clean grain tank. So we have a right-hand clean out right here on the clean grain tank. And on the left-hand side, we have two covers. We have an inner and we have an outer cover. A lot of people will forget about the inner cover and always open the outer cover. The inner cover is right up in here, okay? And this is our outer cover. So what we'll do is we'll take our inner and outer cover off, raise the unloader auger, then we can use water, air, what have you to clean out the grain bin. Once we're done, it's always good habit to take your inner cover and bolt it to your bottom two bolts here, take this outer cover and bolt it to the top two covers. That way you know at the next season, hey, I got two covers here, I should probably put one here. Where's this other one go? Yeah, I remember now, it goes up under here. A lot of people will forget the one under here, and they'll go to harvest and leave a trail of grain because the tank's getting full, the grain starts pouring out down here. So always remember the inner cover. A couple other areas to look at is our tailings auger and our clean grain auger. We have little clean outs here as well. So open up our doors on the other side, open up these covers, put the combine on a lean, whether it's on an incline or on blocks or what have you. Then you can run air or water through these and it'll clean out your troughs, clean out the grain in the troughs. While we're here, we'll talk a little bit about depth. This is a 26-gallon tank, okay? It's recommended to keep this thing stored at the end of the season, during winter, what have you, completely full or completely empty, rinse with distilled water. If it's half full, urea, the depth content is 32% urea, the rest is water. The water will tend to evaporate, urea content goes up. The urea content goes up, we start plugging filters, we start plugging lines, we start plugging the injector up at the engine as well. So it's always good that you do one or the other on S-Series combines. When I say S-Series, S7s are specifically different than the S8s and 9s. The S9s and 8s have a 1/4-inch hose here for a breather. The S7s had a 1-inch hose for a breather. That 1-inch hose would get plugged with chaff and debris, which in turn would bring it down into the tank. The tank through the filter, start plugging filters, start plugging injectors. So on an S7 combine, clean out that 1-inch hose, drain this tank completely, rinse with distilled water, and that's how to store an S7 combine.
It's also important to clean out another component, and that's the terminal. It's always important to book and export the tasks from the terminal. That way we eliminate the risk of running out of memory, and the terminal's ready to load those new tasks for next year. While we're talking about the terminal, I'd also like to explore something else that you and a technician can use to be able to help diagnose electrical faults should they occur faster. In my profession, information is vital to be able to find timely solutions to any of these electrical problems. If you can help a technician out, they might be able to navigate you to the combine diagnostic screen. Here, you'll be able to see all of the inputs and outputs from all of the electrical modules of the machine, as well as the state of the fuses. In the bottom left-hand corner, the technician will have you navigate to module or ECU to see the inputs and outputs. If you want to see the specific inputs from a specific module, you'll have ECU. If you want to see all of the inputs and outputs associated with a specific system or function of the machine, you'll navigate to module and see all of those inputs and outputs. If you want to see the state of the fuses, you select fuses from the terminal, and then you can see the state of the fuses for the CDC high current driver modules 1 and 2. A 0 indicate a good fuse. If you need to recall any alarms or codes that have appeared on the terminal, you can select the error button and see a list of those past codes. Following these steps prior to storage of the machine is going to help eliminate some possible faults when you start for the next year. This will also help you get you to the field faster and increase your uptime.
Thanks, Todd, Aaron. Good stuff there. I know everyone wants to get the most out of their machine and make sure it lasts as long as possible. All right, that was our final section for the day. I hope everyone out there learned a few things, and I want to thank all the presenters today and all of us here at Hesston. I want to thank the customers and dealers out there. Without you, we couldn't bring you the best harvesters on the market. Remember, you can learn more about Gleaner from your local dealer and from gleanercombines.com. Thanks again, and have a safe harvest in 2020. Goodbye.